Hello, everyone. I'm going to sit here and wait for everyone to come on in the room. This is my first time going live like this on YouTube, so I'm super excited about the conversation that I'm going to have. Just waiting for everybody to come on in. Hi. Thank you, Miss Kathy. Look, having a familiar face over on this side is so encouraging. It really is. Um, I decided that no matter who shows up, even if it's just one, they're going to get all the goodness to themselves. So I'm excited and thank you. I got my notes here. Give a little bit of time for people to come into the room, maybe a few minutes, just a couple. And then we're going to get started because we're not working on CP time. So today's live, as you saw the title, it's talking about life after cancer, thriving after cancer, hair regrowth, healing, embracing life beyond just surviving. And so that is what I'm going to get into. And before I invite my guest over, I had a few things, some statistics and things I wanted to share. But for those that are new to my channel, hello. My name is Aubrey. I am a natural hairstylist that focused on on the curls, and I've been a stylist for about 20 years, and I am a retired registered nurse as well. And I have a really strong interest in women's health. I've always had that as the top of my list when I was in nursing. And so women's health has always been something that I wanted to continue in, even after this particular new, I guess, what's the word? It's not new anymore, but my second career. And so I wanted to continue to focus on people's health, not only just their hair. And so I don't speak Spanish, Alejandro. You're welcome to stay. So why did I decide this particular topic was important to discuss? Well, I'm just going to read off some statistics to you really quick. In the US, the women's lifetime risk of breast cancer is 1 in 8. And when I saw that statistic, I was like, that's powerful. And one of the things that I thought of in particular was how did that affect us as Black women? Thank you, Cam. Thank you. The African American woman has a 40% breast cancer mortality rate, and it's the highest of any U.S. racial or ethnic group. And that kind of snatched my edges, to be honest with you. Oh, hello. Thank you, Drew. He's joining from Peru. Powerful, powerful. That's almost, around the world. Wow. Thank you, Blue Butterflies. Yes, yes. So for those entering in, I'm Aubrey. I'm a natural hairstylist. I'm also a retired nurse. And so these particular topics are always of interest to me. And I love to educate and to have fun doing it. As I was speaking about, the mortality rate for Black women diagnosed with breast cancer is about 42% higher than those of white women. And I know that sounds very harsh to say, but it's just a reality that I think most of us are unaware of. And so those younger than 40 are even at higher risk in the African American community, which was a shocking statistic for me as well. And so, in my heart, when I saw these issues, I realized that this was something that I needed to share. I could not be selfish with this information at all. Um, One of the things that is really important to note that the younger you are, sometimes that there is a more aggressive type of breast cancer that um, you can have. It's called triple negative breast cancer, and these ones are definitely higher mortality, but they are harder to treat as well, and they are higher in the African American um, women more than any other racial or ethnic group. So, another reason why I decided that I wanted to share this information. Breast cancer is also the second leading cause of death in the US for African Americans. Do you know what the first one is? Yes, it's heart disease. It's heart disease. And so these are the things that I wanted to share to those who are wanting to be advocates for their own health. And how do you become an advocate for your own health if you simply do not know these statistics and how you could be affected as a African American? And knowing those things will make you aware. We know that this is October, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but not only breast cancer, I in particular am interested in all the cancers that may affect us. And that's why I wore the color lavender. Lavender represents all cancers. So anyone that has been here, that is on this channel and has had cancer in any form, any fashion, this is also for you to be encouraged. So it's not all doom and gloom. I just wanted to make sure that you all could understand the statistically higher rates of these particular issues in the African American community. So, what accounts for these disparities between, Black women and other counterparts? Well, I mean, that's a complex situation. It's multifactorial. In fact, we could talk about economics, social situations, geographic lifestyle factors. They account for some of the disparities. But Black women are statistically more likely to have diabetes, heart disease, and obesity, and are less likely to breastfeed. So if you are a new mom, don't run out and get Infamil or Similac if you can help it. Breastfeed your baby because that does help um, decrease your risk factors. And I always encouraged all of the women when I was in labor and delivery to breastfeed if they could. And if they had the support system, they could really, really do something really good for themselves and their baby. And so, of course, less access to good health care. So that means less access to screening, follow up care, completion of therapy, all of those things. But along with that, lowering the age gap for our mammogram screenings. They are too high for African American women because of these aggressive um, stages of cancer that younger women can get. Then that means screening needs to happen at a much earlier age. And so these are just some things that I wanted to share with you all in regards to that. And I have something personal that I would like to share. It's actually my own personal scare that I had back in December of 2023. I was actually out in the neighborhood talking to people about the Bible, and I got stung by a bee or a wasp or something, and it landed right in my bra. And so politely, I asked the sister that was with me to pluck the stinger out. And we just went on to the car because your girl was in pain, right? And so I'm sure they caught that on camera at their ring door. And so once I got in, we put alcohol and everything on the stinger, but it was right on my breast, right on this side. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, my breast started to do something really, really weird. It started to draw in. It started to look deformed. It started to have a orange peel affect to it. I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. I didn't know what it was, but I was terrified. And so to I got scheduled for an ultrasound just to see what was going on. Well, the ultrasound was performed at the beginning of December. But guess what? They only had one radiologist, and he was going on vacation for 3 weeks. Do you know when I got the results of that ultrasound? In January. So I had to wait through all the holidays and everything to get the results of what was going on. So you can imagine the thoughts that I was having that whole time of what could this be? And I felt a rope going towards my nipple, and it was firm. It was kind of painful. And Dr. Google will tell you you about to die today. And so, of course, I was on Google. I was trying to figure out what it could be. By this time, I was thinking of my children. I was actually very thankful that I had made it this far in life. I was thankful for being able to raise two grown daughters. I was thankful for the fact that I was able to have seen my grandson come into the world. And these are the thoughts that were literally going through my head. And basically, did I do all the things that I needed to do in this life? And did I make God proud? And this is no joke. And I thought to myself, well, and these are just me being transparent with you. I said, if I die empty. Um, I've given everything that I could give, and that was it. And of course, nobody wants to have those thoughts, but that's just transparency, a transparent moment with you all to let you know how your mind can go when you don't know what's going on with your body and you have to wait for a diagnosis. So, fortunately, in January, I got the results, and there was no cancer. I have fibrocystic breast. And if you don't know what that is, that basically means that the breasts are full of lumps. They're lumpy. And they say as long as they are symmetrical, that there's no issue. But it's kind of hard to tell. If you have fibrous, thank you, blue butterflies. Thank you. It's kind of hard to tell when you're doing breast exams, even when you put your oil or your soap or in the shower when you have fibrocystic breast. Any of those that are on this live, if you have fibrocystic breast, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They can become swollen, especially around that time of the month. And you can experience a lot of tenderness, nipple tenderness, that kind of thing with your breast if they're fibrocystic. And so, of course, one of the things that I should stay away from is coffee. That can make that swelling a little bit more. But overall, they said no matter what, when you do your breast exams, even though there are nodules and irregularities, they should be symmetrical. And so, fortunately, during that time, I also have a daughter that is a sonographer. So she was also, yeah, I guess, relatively young, Nancy. Thank you, though. But I have a daughter that's a sonographer, and I did have a very close support system that I did not talk to anyone about this. I didn't share it with my own mother. She's probably on here very upset. But the reason why I didn't was because I was in such a process mode. I could not process someone else's anxiety about it. And so I knew she would just flip a lid and I couldn't handle, I couldn't manage all of that. And of course, I wanted to know what I needed to know before, of course, sharing anything with anyone. And so here we are today, not having any issues. And so I just wanted to share those things with you all, to let you know how. Um, okay, so my guest is saying the link is not working. So let me text her. Excuse me, just 1 second. Um, and if y'all have any questions or thoughts or comments, feel free. I don't want to just monologue, but we will have a Q&A at the end, with my guest speaker. Or if you have an experience you'd like to share too, send link through the email I did. Okay, let me see. Thank you. All right. Here she is. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I am well. So
Good.
I gave a spiel. I don't know if you heard it, but I talked about several things,
Okay.
in my own particular, scare that I had. And I want to introduce someone that is going to share a lot with us and take you on a journey as well. This is, and correct me if I'm saying your name wrong, but I think it's Lashandra, or is it
LaShonda.
Lashandra?
LaShonda.
Lashonda. Let me
Yeah.
get it right.
That's okay.
But Lashonda is a licensed cosmetologist since she was 19 years old. She's got a ton of experience. Um, she is the CEO of Pure Bella Naturals. She has
Yeah.
her own hair care line that's vegan, it's all natural. And she is also an author. She is an author of a children's book called Mama, Where's Your Hair? It can be found on Amazon, and I'm sure she can update us on other places that it can be found as well.
Hmm.
And on top of that, she has a personal experience with cancer. And as I told all of the viewers earlier, that I was wearing lavender today. And the reason is to encompass all cancers because many people have had different walks with cancer. And the initial phase of it was just talking about, um, the statistics of us as African American women in breast cancer. But
Hmm.
you were diagnosed, in 2011 with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And my first question to you is, like, what were you feeling? What were some indications that something was going on with your body? Because a lot of us as females, as women, we work hard, we tend to everybody else, and we just fall out in the bed. And if something is wrong, we just push through it usually.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I had some technical difficulties, so I'm trying to get it together, bring it all back together.
Take a deep breath. Let's just do a little woosah. It's okay, baby. It's
Yes.
okay.
Okay, so thank you so much for having me on. I'm sorry I missed the beginning. I kept trying to go in the wrong link, so that's neither here nor there.
No
But
problem.
anyway,
You're
no
here
problem.
now.
Yes. So your question was what indications, like what led me to knowing that something was wrong?
Yes, because most of us, we can know something is wrong, but we don't know something is wrong until it's all the way wrong.
Mm-hmm. So, as you stated, I've been a hairstylist. This is like my 30th year being licensed.
Mm.
During the time I had been a stylist for about 20 some years, and I was like having pains in my shoulder, shortness of breath. I was feeling like my chest was full. I remember I would be in the salon and I would just literally have to stop doing my client and go outside and just take a breath, like get a breath of fresh air. I remember at night being at home sneaking my son's nebulizer treatment because I felt like my chest was just full. I kept complaining for like a year. I'm like, something's wrong with me.
Wait,
Kept
wait,
going to
wait.
the doctor.
A year?
1 year. Yeah, I went
One
back and
year.
forth to the doctor for an entire year. Um, Letting them
Mm.
know that something was wrong. Even at night, this is what really would kill me. At night, when I laid flat on my back, um, I would literally feel my heart slowly stopping, like boom, 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 boom. And I would jump up, take a deep breath, grab my husband every night. And the first things I would say was take care of the kids. But when I sat up, it's like I felt a release and then I could breathe again. So that made me realize, okay, you can't lay down flat. So I had to sleep sitting, arched up. But
Mm.
um yeah, I was hurting and I was going back and forth to the doctor. So when you're ready for that story, just let me know. But the that's the things that I knew something was wrong.
Okay. So before we get into that other part, do you think, looking back retrospectively, because I'm thinking of your hair care line and everything that came after that, and I know but I'm going here for a reason. Do you think it had to do? Were you doing chemical relaxers, or what was your specialty as a
Oh
stylist?
yeah. I was I was a stylist since I was 19. So the color, the cuts, using to pump it up, spritz. When you spray it and heats it, it turns into formaldehyde, and we breathing it in a gas.
Mm.
Color. I found out during that time that black hair dye up until 93 was giving women cancer. So they took the ingredient out of it that was causing cancer. So I definitely contribute my cancer coming from. I'd say I can safely say I'm 80 some percent sure because my doctor and I did research
Mm-hmm.
that it came from inhaling the chemicals all the years that I did because the chemicals when we as hairstylists when we stand over someone those fumes,
Mm-hmm.
especially with
Mm-hmm.
Hodgkin's lymphoma, it gets attached to our olfactory system and it goes
Okay.
down to our lymph system. And I
Okay.
had Hodgkin's lymphoma, so.
Educate me. Educate me. I did know how black dye could cause allergic reactions in a lot of black women, or your eyes shut closed, those scalp burns, all those. It has been a serious thing, especially the black box dyes. I
Mhm.
think those in particular, but so far as all of these other things, that's news to me. I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that because that's enlightening, that's educational,
Mhm.
and each one, share. And so we can all learn together. So when you finally got the diagnosis, how did that come about? I mean, because I am always been a patient advocate.
Mhm.
And by that, I mean, you know your body than anybody else. You know what you're going through. And a lot of times with females, going to the doctor, especially certain doctors, um, because they can't find it, then you crazy.
Let me tell you something. Girl, okay, so I was crazy to a lot of doctors. I went to the doctor for an entire year, like I said. I was called a hypochondriac. They tried to give me all these types of medicines. Da, da, da. I'm like, what are you prescribing me for? What? Like, you don't even know what's wrong with me. So I would go back and forth. They told me it was, I forgot what it is, what they said, what they named it, because I'm a hairstylist and I was working so much, and right here was hurting. It started on my shoulder. And then my husband's insurance, he had ended his job and started another contract. So we had like a 3-month delay in insurance. And so I never forget, it was April, May. Yeah, I think it was like the beginning of April and of March. Um, I couldn't go to the doctor. So I was like, look, as soon as your insurance starts back, June
Mhm.
1st, I'm at the doctor because I'm still like feeling this feeling that's just not right. I knew something wasn't right. And it was funny. This is a little side note how women, especially women, were developed with an intuition. Okay.
Mhm.
So I was the epitome of health. Like I would walk every day, go to the gym, eat right, but I had a downfall, and I'll tell you about that too.
Okay.
And one day I was
But
going
this
up the
is getting
stairs.
juicy. Look.
Look,
Uh-huh.
okay. One day-
Get your drink, girl.
I was going up the stairs one day at Whole Foods, and I was like, "What if your whole body just ridden with cancer?" Like I said, "Girl, please, you ain't got no cancer." So that thought just crossed my mind. Never thought about cancer before. So end up going back, went to the doctor when my husband's insurance started. Um, And she was like, "Well, I don't see anything," because I was hurting, like not hurting, but I just felt heavy here and I was hurting here. And she was like, "I don't see anything." I said, "Ma'am, can you please give me an MRI? Uh,
Or
um,
something.
something. What is it? Oh my goodness, the simplest one. I got chemo brain. The you know, the scan, not the scan, but the regular one they do. When they test, they just take a picture of your body.
A chest X-ray.
An X-ray, an X-ray.
Mhm.
See, they hadn't given me an X-ray, not any for that entire year. So I asked her to give me one, please. I was like, I'm not leaving until you do. So she gave me one. And she called me back that next day, June 2nd, 7:30 in the morning. And she was like, "LaShonda, I need you to come straight back." I was going to take my kids to school. I know if I was standing right there in the kitchen. She was like, "I need you to come in today." She said, "I see a mass in both of your lungs." I dropped my coffee cup. I was like, "A mass? Like, what do you mean?" She was like, "I don't know if it's cancerous or not, but I see it in both of your lungs, and I need you to come back in today." So that's the answer to your question. I won't tell the whole story. I'll wait to give you bits and pieces till you ask me
Oh,
more.
okay. Okay. So, yeah, that's a lot right there. That's that's interesting. I have one question, and we are going to do a Q&A at the end. So please hold that question, Cam, because I think that's a great question that you're asking. So we will do a Q&A at the end. I guess listening to this, what made you decide that you needed an X-ray?
Because after being called a hypochondriac, after going through this daily for a year, I knew something was wrong. Like I wasn't gonna go back home and just sneak in my son's nebulizer or just walking. I would walk every day and I started losing my balance because that's another one of the signs is your
Hmm.
equilibrium will be off and you'll kind of like you won't fall, but you kind of like lose your balance every now and then.
Hmm.
Was getting short of breath. I used to could walk the entire, we call it the Duke Wall here, which is like almost 2 miles. Everybody walks it. And I was getting like really tired, maybe 10 minutes after starting. So I knew something was wrong. I knew something was wrong. So, but I didn't know it was cancer, but I knew something was wrong.
Okay. So after you get that phone call and you gather yourself together, are you home alone? Or are you with other people?
I have the kid. Well, yeah, after I get the phone call, I call my mom and I tell her I need to go to the doctor.
Hmm.
And we go, and the doctor, I took my kids to school, and the doctor was like, "Okay, let me go get the x-ray." And so she got it, or she redid it. She was like, "Let me redo it just to make sure." So she redid it, and we were in the doctor's office, and she came back. She was like, "I have good and bad news." I was like, "Okay." She said, "Well, the good news is I don't know if it's cancer or not, but the bad news is I do see a mass." And at the time, so she was an oncologist. So at the time, she thought it was in both of my lungs, which it really wasn't. It was in my mediastinum, which is the area between your lungs.
Hmm.
And so her not being an oncologist, she was like, "I'm going to immediately set you up, go to the doctor, so we can see, what's going on with it.
So what does treatment for that look like? How do they go into treatment for you? And are there stages to Hodgkin's
hmm
lymphoma?
So Hodgkin's lymphoma goes up to stage 4. We called it a stage 2A, which was a good stage. And
Well,
let me
he was
back
doing
up.
all of that at stage 2.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow.
Hodgkin's is deadly. So, but I'll back up to when I was at the doctor. I called my husband. I don't forget. I called him. He was on the road. I was just hysterical. All I could think
Mhm.
about was my kids. So he came and met me at the doctor. And I remember him bringing me home, and I was riding up and I was seeing the kids playing in the yard. Oh my God. I was like, they're not finna have a mom, because the doctor had me thinking I had lung cancer. She said, I don't know if it's lung cancer or not until you go to the doctor. And that was 2 weeks. I had an appointment. So for 2 weeks, I thought I had lung cancer. So I was finding a wife for my husband to marry to raise my kids.
Look,
I didn't care if he liked
I
her or
was doing
not.
the same thing with my. I was
And
like, no, I gotta pick her out because
I
them
picked her
kids they
out.
gonna run her off.
Yeah, I know.
They ain't gonna have a chance.
I picked her out. I was like, you don't have to love her. Just let her raise my kids. Just
But you know what? That in itself, it speaks a lot about women and the depth of our love for our children that we gonna look out and we gonna do what we have to do.
we're gonna look out. Because
That's
I didn't think
crazy.
about my husband. Like I thought about I thought about him to call him and get comfort, to let him know. But my thoughts were my babies, and they were babies at the time. Like my daughter was
Mhm.
10, my son was probably 5.
Oh yeah.
And I was
Oh.
like, who gonna raise my babies? Like, no. So yeah, for 2 weeks she had me thinking I had lung cancer, and I was just baffled. I was like, I never smoked. I don't know what
Mhm.
happened. So but yeah, so Hodgkin's lymphoma goes up to 4,
Okay.
4D, I think. Kind of like the hair. Like people try to type hair.
That's what your mind go to. Type 4 hair.
Right. But I had 2A. The doctor was like, you caught it at a very good stage. We think you're 100% curable. You're gonna have to go through a lot, but we can take care of it. So
Okay.
that was in the beginning.
And then the treatments
Oh,
started.
then the treatment started. So first I had to have surgery. So with Hodgkin's lymphoma, you can't take a biopsy of it. So they had to go in and actually like look at it and observe it and play around with it to see what stage it was. So I actually had 4 surgeries. Had They went twice in here, once through here. Had my port removal, all that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but the treatments I did. So in the beginning, they were like 11, 11 to 12 treatments should get it with radiation. Didn't happen. So after
So
the
you had
11,
radiation first.
I'm sorry, 11 to 12 treatments with chemotherapy.
Okay, gotcha.
So I had chemo every other week. Um, I would get it Monday to Monday. I leave there. I go work out at Curves. I come home, clean up.
Wait. Okay. Let me make sure I heard right. You would go get cancer treatment and some chemo
Uh-huh.
and then go work out.
I would go work out religiously. I would go work out because this is the kicker. Chemo chemo by itself is not what really gets you sick. It's that shot you get that next day, maybe the next 2 days, the Neulasta shot that
Right.
pulls all the white blood cells out of your bone marrow, your
Okay.
bone marrow, and it replenishes them, like replete. It does something,
Okay. Gotcha.
but that's what takes you down. So I got that shot Wednesday. Yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday. Monday I work out. Tuesday I work out. I do whatever. Wednesday, I go get the shot. Thursday, I'm dead to the world.
Okay. Gotcha.
Um, I would be gone. I would be out of it until Sunday. And then I woke up Monday, brand new person, went to work all week. Nobody thought I even had cancer. that entire week I was fine. Every other week. So, and it was funny because my prayer before I got cancer, I was almost tired of doing hair. I was like, I would really like to do hair every other week. That would be so cool. I was like, I didn't want the prayer answer like that.
I know, right? I was ready to sit down, but not all the
Right.
way down.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I did the chemos. My life was like that. And
Mhm.
after the 11th one, they thought it would be gone. So they had to go back in to see if it was scar tissue or if it was still cancer. Still cancer. So
Hmm.
the doctor was like, I think you should get a this where patient advocate comes in, because I'm a true believer in being a self advocate for yourself. He said, I
Hmm.
think you should get a stem cell transplant, or yeah, stem cell transplant for your cancer to go away. So I was like, okay, I'll look into it. So my husband had the bomb insurance. So immediately they approved Duke Hospital, one of the top hospitals here. It was $250,000 immediately approved for it. We went, my doctor was like, I'm gonna set you up with the best doctor. You're gonna go, da 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 da. I was doing my research. So I get to the doctor. I'm
That
like,
is a blessing, girl.
yeah. So I get to the doctor and I tell him, he's like, yeah, I'm the best doctor for this, da da da. I said, well, I don't accept blood. So are you gonna be able to do this? And
Hmm.
he said, well, if you don't accept blood, you're gonna die. I said,
Mm.
well, I guess I'm gonna die because I'm not getting it.
It
But
is
then he
what
was
it
like,
is.
well, right. He said, well, I can try. So I was like, sir, absolutely not will you try on me if you haven't done it yet. I said, but I did my research and it's a hospital in Cedar Sinai. I think it's called Cedar Sinai Hospital that does bloodless stem cell transplants. I said, and all the doctors across the world are trying to
See,
get trained from
this,
him because his patients live longer, and it's a better way, or something. I forgot what it
their
was.
outcomes are
Better
always
outcome.
better because
Yes.
they don't have the option to give you the blood,
Right.
and then you don't have the side effects of having someone else's blood that your body starts to recognize as foreign. And so
Exactly.
those are longer hospital stays. So look at
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Look at you.
So the doctor was like, well, yeah, well, we're not Cedar Sinai. I can't do it, da da da. So I basically told him the visit was over. We're gonna have to do another option. So I did my research, more and more research, and found out that people who had whose Hodgkin's lymphoma left and came back were the ones who needed stem cell transplants. So I go to my doctor. I'm like, so I see you're asking me to get this. My insurance approved it. I said, but my cancer never left. I still have it. People who need
Mhm.
stem cell transplants are people whose cancer has left. And he was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Let's just try another form of chemo. I said, okay.
Wow,
So he was
self
about to have,
advocacy. See, this is what we're talking about, ladies, gents, whoever. You have to be so informed about your own bodies and all of the things because it is crazy out there.
mm-hmm,
And if you're not in the medical field, you're a layperson, don't be lay no more. You go and
mm-hmm.
you read, you figure it out, you find out all the things so you can make sure you get the best treatment possible. And make sure you write it down. Write
Yes.
all your questions down when you go to the doctor, write all your
Oh my
information
gosh.
down because when you go into the doctor, a lot of people get that white coat syndrome. I can't tell you how many times doctors have come in the room, did their little spiel, spoke above the patient's uh, IQ levels or in medical terms that nobody understood but him. 5 minutes in and out, and the next thing I know, uh, nurse, can you tell me what he said? I'm like, baby, you didn't understand nothing he said. So I'm having to interpret everything to them. And I said, next time, you're going to write down your questions and you're going to make sure that you get the answers in a way that you can understand. And if I was there, I would say, doctor, do you mind slowing down and explaining it in a way that a regular person that didn't go to medical school can understand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because why not?
Yeah. I would go in there with my little white notebook every appointment, and my doctor would come in and he would sit down and he would say to me, he was like, I blocked out a lot of time for you, Shonda, because I know you got questions. I said, yeah. He said, you do your research, don't you? Absolutely. Like, I'm not just gonna accept what you say without knowing like why you said it and what it's going to do to benefit me or what it may not benefit me. So you have to be your own advocate and educate yourself on that.
And sometimes they don't necessarily expect us to have the knowledge of what it is that they're prescribing or doing or anything of that sort. They're very surprised. And as Kendra Wooden says, people do get intimidated.
Hmm.
But but there is no one that is more of a doctor of your own body than you are.
Yeah, and I hate to get into the insurance thing, but I know when I was going through it, insurance really mattered. Like it really, and you're in the medical field, so you know. But I asked my doctor, I'm like, because each treatment I did was 23,000. No, it was 18,000. And I did 23 of them.
Hmm.
And the shots were 9,000. I did 23 of them. And the doctor told me, he was like, you got some good insurance. I said, so do the people who don't have the insurance I have, are they getting the same type of chemo I'm getting? Or like, are they getting, and he couldn't answer it. He wouldn't answer it.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Wow, that's very insightful. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yes, Blue Butterfly says we don't ask questions, so they feel that we understand what's going on.
Yeah, I'm a question. I'm going to ask a question. I was a why child. But why? Why? But why?
Exactly, exactly. So, when did they finally get it, and how did you heal from that?
Okay, so after him telling me, or after me telling him I don't need the stem cell transplant, he decided to change the chemo, which we went to the ABVD, which is the red devil, which they give women for breast cancer. And up until then, I hadn't lost my hair. Like
Wait
my
a
hair
minute,
was
that's what
thick.
they call it. What?
It's called the red devil because
What
it's
is
red.
that?
They have hazmat suits when they administer this type of chemo to you. It's ABVD and it's coined the Red Devil, but it's the chemotherapy for breast cancer. And they will wear a pure hazmat suit, and I'm like, okay, if you have a hazmat suit on, and I'm sitting up here butterball naked, like what is happening here? So she was like, we just have to, protect ourselves. Which what? So anyway, I got 12 of those. And during each
12
chemo,
red devils.
12
Hmm.
red devils. My hair came out immediately after the first treatment. Immediately. Like that's a whole book.
Like you didn't even get a chance to shave your head. It just fell out. Like,
And
we have these.
I was on the toilet after that first treatment. And I was like rubbing because I have a bad habit of keeping my hands in my hair. I was sitting there just rubbing my hair. And I actually, you know what? I had some curly because I would wear curly tracks up here sometime and let my sides out.
Mhm.
And I did like that, and it all like just lifted up with a few strands. I said, "What the devil?" So I start kind of like taking them out, and yeah, I could
They
just do
came
like
out with the
this.
tracks.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Then we went. My husband wanted to plan a haircutting party, so we went to the beach, had a haircutting party. His little hands were just shaking. I was like, "Baby,"
Oh,
I just took a washcloth and did like that, and it all came out.
yes. And you saying that reminded me what also was going through my mind when I had the breast cancer scare. 6 months prior to that, I had lost one of my close friends. She had pancreatic cancer.
Mm,
And I had gone through that and went up there and I cut her hair in front of the family. And it was just a very special moment because
I'm sorry. Yeah.
sorry.
No, I'm
Um,
just saying.
it was just a special moment for us. And the fact that she trusted me to do that for her. And, you know, um, So those thoughts were going through my head when I had the
Mhm.
scare. Thank you.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so,
It's
you know,
rough.
yeah,
It's rough.
yeah, you know how your mind, thank you, your
I know.
mind goes, and
I
then
know.
and Google,
Oh, that's what the doctors tell you to stay away from.
yeah.
Don't go to Google because Google will give you a pure heart attack when you go. Trying to find self what's the word? Diagnose.
Self-diagnosing, yes. And so I can understand some of that, but you on the other side of this, going actually through it, trudging through it. What was your mindset? How did you stay positive? How did you encourage yourself? How did your family support? How did that work out?
So when I lost my hair, it was funny because of course, as you know, being a hairstylist, hair was everything. Like my identity at the time I thought was my hair.
Like
But
that video, what India Reed say, I am
right,
not
I
my
am
hair.
not my hair. Let me tell you something. So when it all came out and everybody in the room was like crying and my husband was just standing there and I happened to look to the mirror and I was like, I said, she cute. They was like, what? I said,
Oh,
I like it.
only a stylist would come back and be like, girl, you know
Okay.
what? Hey.
I was like, let me throw some shades up here and I'm gonna rock my balls. So that's what I did. I rocked my bald head with some shades. I wore a wig one time to my service on a Sunday and I had it come down to my butt and I walked straight up to the front just to mess with folks. And it was so funny. It was funny. It was funny to me. I go in the bathroom and there are like 4 or 5 sisters in there crying. And then one sister coming there crying. And I'm like, y'all, no, that's when I walked in there bald. Never mind. I walked in bald. And I went to the bathroom and people were in there crying. I was like, I didn't know what happened. I was like, y'all, what happened? And they were looking at me like, we're crying about you. I said, me? I was like, y'all want me to go put my mama wig on? Like, what? What's They
Love
were so
it.
confused because I'm the type of person like, okay, this is the problem. I have pitter paddled about it. What are we gonna do to solve it? I
Hmm.
don't waddle on. I don't know
Hmm.
if that's a curse or it's a gift, but
Hmm.
it's like, okay, I'm gonna deal with it. And people would be so amazed. I'm like, sweetie, it's not me. Number one, I believe truly in prayer and my heavenly father. Like,
Hmm.
it's not me. So but family was so supportive. My husband, poor thing, I he has this one family friend and he will tell her all the time, like everybody will always ask me how's Shan. He said, but you were the first person to ever ask me how was I doing. He said, and
Mm.
that literally just stuck with him. He said, because he was just so used to worried about how I was doing that he never thought about how he was doing. And
Mm.
she was like, no, I want to know, how are you? Like, are you okay? And so the kids were okay. They didn't really understand it too much. My son didn't, but my daughter did. She was so scared. That's why I developed the book because the day I lost my hair, it freaked her out. So the book is called Mama, Where's Your Hair? Um,
Yes, I love
so
that. I
thank you.
love that.
Thank you.
Where can we find that book?
So you can order it on my website, purebellanaturals.com, or you can get it off of Amazon. But if you order it off the website, you'll get a little more personal touch with it.
Awesome. And look at the beauty that comes after the storm. Look at the clarity that comes, because I imagine that a lot of things shifted for you during that time. That you, the things that you thought were important, girl, you'd be like, girl, please.
Yes. Let me tell you something. Nothing. I don't think me and my husband argued for like 2, 3 years. I was like, boy, what? 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 I don't care.
I know, right? Okay.
I
You'd
did
be like, I
not.
don't even know what we talking about
I
here.
don't even know. I don't remember honestly because chemo gives you memory loss. So I'm like, I don't even know what we was talking about. I would be like, and what I'm supposed to be mad at him for? I can't remember. Well, I guess it don't matter.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
perspective shifts. It's crazy because I would never really say this to anybody unless they really went through cancer. But if I had to do it all over again and I knew I would live, I want it because it
Mm,
literally changed my life. Like literally, work to my social to the way I looked at life to my friend choices, everything to the way I did work with my kids, everything. So.
that's now that's you spoke a whole word right there. I mean, friend choices. I'm sure you saw a lot during that period, and you saw who was there and who was for
Mhm.
you. And, you know, just the whole dynamic of it all, I'm sure
Yeah.
was very insightful, and it brought you a lot of clarity in a lot of areas in your life. One of the things I wanted you to touch on was about your hair care line. Now, here
Mhm.
you were a stylist all this time, and I know your products were created out of that need that you saw. You saw a need, and that's where the money is. Where you
Mhm.
find a need, you can
Mhm.
provide the solution.
Right.
You can do some things, but it
Mhm.
grew out of that. So can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so my product line, I came up actually with the name. I'm sorry, I'm just checking something for my daughter. I came up with the name when I was on the couch uh after chemo one day, and I just was writing stuff down. I just wanted to be make women feel beautiful. So Pure Bella Naturals. I can't talk about all I can't remember all that what I did, but um I initially created the product line to help women with hair growth after cancer and to give them like a stress-free solution at home, especially if they had natural hair. And just to keep it simple. So that's why my tagline is pure simple beauty. And within the past couple of months, I'm literally going back to where I started because I kind of got out of what I initially started for, my why.
Mhm,
Um, so yeah, I created the shampoo, conditioner, the leave-in conditioner, a mousse for curly hair.
mhm,
And I'm getting ready to come out with a very good scalp scrub. It's like a powder that you just add water to when you apply in a bottle. I'm going
mhm.
back to my roots to really care for the scalp. That will help with the hair growth. And in turn, you just use the products for styling.
Very well, very good. So, what is your biggest seller?
My biggest seller is my Hello Curl styling mousse.
Mhm.
It's a vegan styling mousse for all textures, and it's also used for blowouts too. And then I would say my second is my shampoo conditioner.
Okay, that's awesome. And you all probably know about Pure Bella Naturals because there was some celebrity, I don't know if she was that famous at the time that she started using your product, but
Hmm.
she she started to use it and she really, really loved it. You want
Yes.
to tell us about that experience?
Yeah. So it was 2018. I woke up and I was like, I don't want to do hair anymore. I'm done. And my prayer was if I could just find a celebrity that people knew about her hair and she embraced the clean beauty, then I would be good. I want to get my product in her hand. And so 2 weeks before closing my salon in 2019, a friend of mine was like, Tabitha Brown is gonna be in town. You should reach out to her. And it was funny because I was like, who is Tabitha Brown?
Right.
And so I looked up online. I'm like, oh, okay, her hair is gorgeous. I love it. So I just DM'd her. And at the time, my salon was called Pure Bella Naturals. And so I DM'd her and I was like, hey, I see you in town. Let me know if you want to get bailed. And that was a little tagline. We was like, when somebody would get their hair done, we'll ring the bell. You just got bailed, blah, blah, blah.
Love that.
So she was like, well, you know what? I generally don't let anybody touch my hair, but the spirit is telling me to come to you. I said, so well, thank you, Holy Spirit.
Okay.
So she right. So she came. I did her hair. She started going on camera, and I would start seeing like cars pass by. And she was like, you might want to close your blinds. So I closed the blinds, and me and my assistant was like, girl, who do we have in the chair? Like, what is happening?
No clue what you're doing over
No,
there. Who
I
you
treated her,
serving?
and girl, I treated her like I treated all my clients with royalty, respect. Everybody had their own time for their appointment.
Exactly.
So, and she was kind of shocked. I saw her look like, okay, because when she came in, I was like, hey, how you doing? You can have a seat. My assistant will be with you in a few moments to get your consultation. She was like, oh, okay.
Like, like, do you know who I am?
Right, right.
Right.
And so
Okay. But you know what? That probably made it even better, actually.
it did. It did. We just bonded. We became really cool. I would send her products. That was July. 2 weeks later, I closed my salon. Didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was stepping out on faith for my products because I said I have
Mhm.
to do my products full time in order for them to blossom. So I was doing that, and she reached out in November, and she was like, "Your products are on my number one list, her Christmas wish list." So I was like,
Mm.
okay. She said, I want to know if I can be your affiliate. Sorry, my phone adding up. She was like, I want to know if I can be your affiliate. Be your affiliate. I said, absolutely. So we worked it out. And every time she would hold up a ball of mousse, I would get like 2 to 3,000 sales that day for
Oh,
one
wow.
bottle. I had to hire 10 of my daughter's friends all through COVID every day just to get orders done. It was crazy. Houses full of boxes everywhere. Stuff wasn't being
Wow.
made because China was out of plastic to make mousse bottles. I couldn't get the ingredients here. So it was a crazy 3 years, but it was great. It grew me from not knowing what I was doing to I had to know what I was doing. So,
Mm.
yeah, it
Mhm.
was a great time till she reached out in 2022, 23. She was like, "I'm coming out with my own product, Shonda." She called me Shonda. I said, "Girl, you don't know nothing about no hair product." But what's funny is
You
last year,
inspired her.
last year I met a young lady. She particularly came to me, and I could tell like she's digging for something. I want to know who this is. So anyway, she was like, "You know my friend." I said, "Who is your friend?" She said, "Tabitha Brown." I was like, "Oh, okay." She said, "You could have been my other girlfriend who has her product line." She said, "All she did was reach out to Tabitha and tell her that she has a product line. Do you want your name on it?" And Tab said, "Yeah." She says, "You could have did that with your line." I'm like, "What?" But it's all good. I'm glad I kept it. So,
You know, man, that's an interesting story. That
right,
you can always tell that story. But what I love about your particular brand, I did try it. It's been some years ago when I tried it, and I told you at that point in time because I think you were on a live, and I said my hair, she's funny acting. She don't like everything,
right.
but I want to revisit her. I want to
Yes,
revisit that,
yes, you
and
have
so
to.
can we make that happen?
Yes, we can make that happen.
And so yes, I what I love about it is that it seems to be very, very clean. And for those people that are looking for things that because of your background, you're
Mhm,
going to be very careful with the ingredients that you use. You're going
mhm.
to be, eco conscious. You're going to also be the type of person with your product that we can trust. And it's
Right.
hard to find companies that are truly trustworthy
Mhm.
these days because there's so much going on in the industry. And
Right.
yeah, so finding people that are trustworthy and still doing their own thing. Not to
Mhm.
say that you can't ever grow, because
Right.
sometimes that's what needs to happen.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I appreciate that.
absolutely. So I just want to thank you so much for
Mhm.
allowing me to have this moment with you and to share your story, because it enlightens us, and iron sharpens iron. We get to know more about these type of situations when we talk about them openly,
Right.
and we are not scared to ask those hard questions. So I really want to open it up to other people on this live to ask whatever questions they have, for her. It can be related to the cancer. It can be related to her product line if you want to know how to use it. I see somebody already loves Hello Curls and Vanilla Rain. Um, but if anybody has any questions that they wanted to ask, I believe there was one question already about the black hair dye, whether or not they had removed all of
Mhm.
those, I guess, took out what causes the issue. So have they taken out a lot of those ingredients?
According to science, they removed it in 90, 93, 94, 98. One of those years they removed it. But we still have to be careful of colors that have PPD. Um, so those
And
are some of the toxins.
The PPD, you want to expound on what?
So it's basically a toxin. It's a chemical in the color that has some cancer related substances in them, and if they
Mhm,
continue to seep down in your scalp, then they can cause some type of harm. But I know Chi by Farouk. I know you know the brand Chi.
mhm.
He was suffering through autoimmune diseases, and so he realized it was coming from the color, and so he produces his color without PPD.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's one brand that I do know. I know another brand, Oway, is PPD free.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And it is so, these are things that mainstream just doesn't tell you about.
Mhm.
Those are things that you have to really dig deep. And how would you
Mhm.
know? You
Right.
know, they just quietly take it off the market.
Hmm.
But all this time
Exactly.
you've been using,
Right. Right.
and you just wonder where all these things come from, hence the
Hmm.
lawsuits and the for the relaxers. A lot of these things, these endocrine, um, I forget the name of it, but basically they start to,
The disruptors, endocrine
yes,
disruptors.
the endocrine
Hmm.
disruptors.
Hmm.
And you wonder why we see all the things that we're seeing. It's a lot of the stuff that is completely environmental. And if you
Hmm.
don't know, then of course we're going to be affected.
And
So,
you know, with the relaxer, that as a stylist, they teach us it's supposed to be 1/4 inch away from the scalp. Because I know I was a technician for Design Essential for years, and Mr. McBride, if he saw that relaxer on that scalp, like you were taken off stage. But once it hits your scalp, it's something in there that the hormones in our uterus be like, "Come to mama," and they
mm,
just the blood takes it down there, and that's how we get the little fibroids and all those kind of things.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's amazing. These are basic things that we were taught in school too,
Hmm.
to
Right.
keep it. So you got to know that there was a reason.
Exactly. If they told you don't put it on your scalp. But we be like, you burning yet? Is it burning yet?
Girl, you
Okay,
know
just
how
wait
people
till you
used to
burn.
run to the bathroom when it was time to take that relax out because they
Yes.
wanted to stay in long?
Right.
You be like, get out that bathroom. You know it's time to get that relax off your head.
Exactly.
They were like, I want to have bone straight. No,
Bone
you don't
straight.
need it bone straight because they thing's gonna be
No.
on the floor.
Right. Right. If it can melt a Pepsi Cola can, honey.
Ah, right. That part. That part. Cam is asking, is Pravana in black okay?
I don't want to say because I've never used black color in Pravana. So just check if it's a demi-permanent, because most Pravana, I've used the Pravana before, they're demi-permanent colors.
Hmm.
I've never used their permanent. Only ones I know that are PPD free are Chi by Farouk, Oway, and a couple of other brands. They have a couple other brands that surfaced out that's PPD free.
Yeah, so all you got to do is now take your camera, put that little Google lens on, and research
Yes.
the back
Yeah.
of those, and it all those things should pop up. And so,
Hmm.
especially something that you're using very frequently on your scalp,
Right.
and we- we've got to we have to educate ourselves because no one's
Hmm.
coming to do that for us. We have to
No.
do it ourselves, and so that's really what this was. This whole, um, I guess you could call it a podcast, was
Right.
about, was to really be as informative to everyone because information and knowledge These are things that save lives, because
Mm-hmm.
it's the little things that you think you that don't matter, then and they really do. It's the cumulative effect of those little things that you don't pay any attention to that produced what it produced in you. That
Mm-hmm.
cumulative effect over the years.
Right.
And so if you had
Right.
known, you might have been wearing a mask like they do at the nail shops.
Exactly.
They got them on for a
Exactly.
reason.
Right.
So them acrylics, we
Right.
love them. You know,
Uh-huh.
I
Yep.
developed an allergy to the acrylics. I loved me some. It was the primer, or it was something in there, but your
Mm-hmm.
girl's fingers and toes swole up, and the itchiness, and all of these things.
Oh wow.
It was awful. I was like, "Oh, I got leprosy on my
Oh
toes."
no.
It was awful,
Oh
but
no.
somehow or another they cut my cuticles back too far,
They're
and it
not supposed
seeped
to
into
cut
my
them.
bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
Immediate reaction, and so I
Yep.
can't wear gel polish anymore either.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you
The
girls just have
toluene
to.
is it's called toluene in nail polish. That creates a lot of people have allergies and effects to it.
Mhm,
So yeah,
mhm,
it's a lot. I mean, our body, you already know how we were created from the dirt. And then men make all these chemicals and we try to put them all over our body and ingest them in our body. Our cells can't break it down. So it
mhm.
tries to disperse it back out.
Exactly, exactly. Well, I so appreciate you. I know we've never met each other,
Yeah.
but but now I've got a friend. I've got
Yes,
a friend.
definitely. Thank you.
Yes,
Same
yes.
here.
So,
Same here. I so enjoyed it.
yes, it was very enlightening for me. I thank you so much for sharing your experience, not only um, with clarity, but also transparency, sharing things that you may not have been, asked to share in other places. And so you gave us a lot more insight into the person behind Pure Bella Naturals. And so we thank you so much. And I can't wait to use the products.
Yes,
And I'll be looking forward to it. So
definitely.
thank you so much. And I want to bid you a very good night.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me.
And thank you all for being a great audience. And I just really appreciate all the support. And yes, this live will be saved. All right. Have a good one.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.